switch gears. You've been very indulgent with that breaking news here. The other breaking news is today the president proposing essentially emptying out Guantanamo Bay. Many will come here to U.S. sites in either Colorado, South Carolina, a couple of others mentioned. How do you feel about that?
Well, again, another complicated issue in which it's all shades of gray. So kind of deconstruct some of the things being said. I understand why the president wants to bring them here. He's made a political promise. I get that.
And he's going to Cuba.
Well, we'll see if Congress allows him to keep it. There are actually some constitutional issues involved here. But
can he go do this by executive order and the courts can challenge him and even strike him down later, but those guys are out?
Actually, I would really strongly prefer to do this without a constitutional crisis. I would rather do this by consensus. So,
it doesn't happen.
So let's parse out what we've got here. The president has made the argument that we need to do this because it's a recruiting magnet for ISIS. Frankly, Neil, I don't think that's true. In fact, I don't think it was ever very true, and it's certainly not true now. I mean, I'm being a little cartoonish about it here. So imagine we're in a recruiting line out there at Raqqa.
And apparently they don't have any trouble getting recruits.
Yeah, we're out there in Raqqa. We're about ready to sign up, and somebody suddenly tweets, Obama is closing Guantanamo. Let me tell you what's not going to happen in the line. Oh, well, no need for us to sign up here anymore. Those guys are still going to join. So I think we're overblowing the recruiting magnet.
30 will be shipped overseas somewhere, right?
Right.
60 potentially scattered, I don't know where else.
Somewhere in the United States, apparently. I am
well,
not.
Those communities are going to be pretty nervous.
I understand that, all right? And they have a right to be. That said, that's not my core concern, and I don't mean to be cavalier about this. We know how to keep people in prison here, Neil. We actually do pretty well with that, all right? I'm more concerned about legal ramifications here. So one legal ramification is, what additional rights and privileges will these people accrue because of the very fact of geography, that they're no longer in Guantanamo in Cuba, but they're over here in the United States? How much more difficult will that make circumstances for the U.S. government? And then beyond that, Neil, here's something I want the president to say as part of this deal. You know, the president says we're at war with al-Qaeda. He believes we're at war with al-Qaeda. Otherwise, he wouldn't be out there killing people the way he has authorized killings, which I strongly support. One of the elements of making war is to actually capture people and hold them, not for the criminal justice system, but hold them under the laws of armed conflict. We have a right to do that. We haven't done that in over 7 years. As part of this arrangement, I want our government to fully and publicly embrace we reserve the right to grab enemy combatants and hold them, whether or not we ever intend
under rights or any of that stuff.
Whether or not we ever intend to put them into a court.
Okay. Speaking of terror, you've been asked over the years, and you talk about in your book about how much this president has been dealing with terror and how much his predecessors have dealt with terror, particularly President Bush. And you said even though Donald Trump has really blasted President Bush, saying that he didn't keep us safe, 9/11 happened under his watch, and that he ignored repeated warnings. You had said that there was no actionable intelligence pre-9/11. Yeah. What does that mean?
It means that on the 6th of August, we went in there with a briefing, well, we, the intelligence community. I'm up at Fort Meade just doing my NSA sort of thing, so I'm not privy to the conversation. But on the 6th of August, we had one item in the President's daily brief saying, bin Laden determined to attack America. All right? That was the headline for the
issue of using commercial airlines?
No, of course not.
So that was just another rumor that started after the fact?
And now, look, we knew they were fooling around with airliners, and that was part of their thought process. But here's the way I explain it.
But not using planes as weapons.
Neil, here's the way I explain it. We had so much data sitting in those databases, all right, that it was almost as likely that the attack would have been conducted by the Tamil Tigers from Sri Lanka in San Francisco Bay with submarines. If that were your premise, I could find dots to connect.
So hindsight is always 20/20.
Exactly.
I guess
Great
I understand
point.